Hey, this is Matt once again. We're about to the videos to the paid requests. This time for Ben. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for a film called Six Pack. Now, I had heard of this film, but never saw it. It's a race car movie, but at the same time, it's about a guy meeting up with these orphan kids, them learning to bond and work together, and ultimately become a family. Now, I know this seems like the dreaded word cheesy, but I wasn't really sure going into this what I would think about it because it stars Kenny Rogers. Now, Kenny Rogers I did enjoy as a musician, as a singer. My favorite song of his would be The Gambler. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. Probably one of my favorite. I'm not a big country music guy, but if I have to pick a favorite country song, it's probably that because it's very catchy. And Kenny Rogers just had a lot of other attributes where seemed like a nice guy, seemed like a decent guy. And I cannot remember when he passed away. March 20th, 2020. And for the longest time, just always remember him with his beard. I don't think I ever saw him without his beard. But he had that distinct look and a great voice. But he wasn't really known as an actor. I mean, he was in the Gambler movies later on. But this is probably the first time and one of the only times he got to star in a film. And the film was a decent hit. I mean, it made a little bit of money, and apparently there was a short-lived TV show where Don Johnson starred in as his character. And I think for a guy who's not really known for his acting, I thought Kenny Rogers did a respectable job. He was not going to win any awards, but I've seen much worse from people and much worse from singers. He's a better actor than 50 Cent, I'll say that. And the story, it had a charm to it. It did. It had a charm to it, which made it work, made it palatable. I know he's saying a song called Love Will Turn You Around, which was a big hit at the time. And like I said, he's a race car driver trying to get back into the game. And as he's trying to get to this next race, he stops to get some stuff, and his car gets dismantled. And whoever's in this van drives away, can't get them. So he's kind of discombobulated, doesn't know what to do. He goes to get a drink, get some food. He's not really that hungry. And this is one of those peculiar things. Sometimes the little things that stand to attention, at least for me. Like the waitress, she has this belt buckle, and the belt buckle has a radio on it. Never seen a movie where someone had a belt buckle that was a radio, especially a waitress having that. So, I'm like, okay, that's different. He realizes that whoever's in this van has stolen someone else's car parts, chases them down. The van goes to the river. Kenny Rogers goes in to help out. And it's these kids, 6 kids, which you find out they're orphans. And among the kids, the oldest is Diane Lane, which I did not realize she was in this. I've seen her in a bunch of stuff. Murder at 1600 with Wesley Snipes. Ma Kent in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. She's done quite a few stuff. Very nice, solid actress. Fairly young in her career, because this was 1982 when this came out. And then also one of the kids is Anthony Michael Hall. I don't know if he was 12, 13, 14, like very young. So this was before National Lampoon's Vacation. Because when did that come out? I'm trying to remember. Because I think this is one of the first films, at least of substantialness, that Anthony Michael Hall did. Because National Lampoon's Vacation was the next year, 1983. So this is 82. And of the kids, he's the one who's more the mechanic. So you have Diane Lane, the oldest one. You have Anthony Michael Hall, the more Mr. Fix-It one. You have the youngest one, the baby of the group. You have one who curses a lot. You have one who's kind of a bigger kid. He barely says anything. I forget what the other one did. Just really the only ones that stood out was Diane Lane, Anthony Michael Hall, the one who cursed, and the younger one. The other two, they're kind of just there. Which, I mean, you honestly didn't need them because they didn't really do anything. They didn't really say anything. They didn't really... You could have just had 4. You didn't need 6 kids, but whatever. They didn't hurt it. They didn't help it. It is what it is. So you got Kenny Rogers, you got Diane Lane, you got Anthony Michael Hall, Barry Corbin, who I recognize. He was the sheriff in Critters 2. Which, I don't know why. Anytime I think of that movie, I always think of his line delivery when our lead characters try to get help from him. This town voted me out. This town can kiss my ass. He walks away. Something about his delivery always made me laugh. He was also in War Games. Barry Corbin's been in a lot of stuff, but he rests in peace. Good character actor. He's here as a crooked sheriff that was using these kids to get car parts for him to sell it and split the money, or at least he did most of it. Other people, Erin Gray from Buck Rogers. She was also in Jason Goes to Hell. She is Kenny Rogers' girlfriend in the movie. Terry Kaiser, who will later be in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, and Bernie in Weekend at Bernie's. He's here as this other race car driver who's a dickhead, who's kind of the asshole in the movie. So yeah, I was surprised just how many recognizable people were in this. And the movie goes at a good pace where you can predict where it's going to go. They're not going to meet eye to eye, Kenny and the kids. I appreciate Diane Lane was not as bitchy as I thought she would be. Because it seemed like, okay, she's the oldest one. She's going to be the one that's the most hostile. She's going to be the one that's going to be the most antsy around him, talking down to him. No, she's like one of the most respectful kids, which was a nice surprise. Just I don't know. I've seen that too many times. Whereas these kids and the oldest, a lot of times it's a girl that's the oldest, and again she's bitchy or she's confrontational. They didn't do that in this. It just made it seem more refreshing, and it made her likable. Like she just got put into a bad spot. And there's a nice dramatic scene where she kind of is led to doing this thing with the other kids, where they try to fuck over this other car that's messing with Kenny Rogers, and Kenny's like, no, if I'm going to win fair and fair. No cheating. And come on, you're older than them, you shouldn't let them do this, like, you shouldn't be doing that, and she runs off, and Kenny finds her, and then she has a nice emotional moment. Like, even this early stage, you tell she'd grow up to be a solid actress, where she's talking about how she wishes she could be with kids her own age and get a boyfriend and be a cheerleader. And is that selfish? Is that dumb? And Kenny's like, no, that's not dumb at all. And like I said, Kenny Rogers was not going to win awards for acting, but they did it right where it's like, don't play too far off the reservation. Like, we're hiring you for the name. And, just try to be as natural as you can. And I think he did what he could with the role. And again, I've seen much worse musicians try to be actors. But I say it is predictable, that some of them are going to have friction. And ultimately, he's going to, fine, I'll take you over here. Fine, I'll take you a bit further. And then, especially when one of them is a mechanic, they're going to be the pit crew for Kenny Rogers' group, or Kenny Rogers' car. And there's going to be the big race at the end, and the authorities going to want to get the kids back. And, of course, there's going to be a moment where he's going to choose the big race or the kids. It'd be funny if he chose the big race and he's with the trophy, and the kids are in jail like this, and then, you got to know when to hold them. Know when to fold them, know when to walk away. And he's got the trophy. I know when to run. I got my trophy. You kids can suck on this dick. You all 6 foot to the county jail. I would say as a comedy, I don't know if I really found a whole lot funny as a comedy. I don't even know if I say there were any really jokes in it. It's kind of a little bit of a drama, race car. The race car scenes are fine or adequate. I mean, it's no Days of Thunder or any of the sort, but they're adequately shot. You know, I didn't notice anything too bad with them. There's a nice practical crashes in there. I mean, racing, like that NASCAR type of thing, is not my favorite type of sport. Of course, again, like a lot of people would say, the most fun part is the crashes, but then you feel bad because more than likely people got hurt. But it's like kind of people just waiting for a crash to happen, and when it happens, oh shit. So people don't really remember who won, they remember who crashed and what the crash looked like. But like I said, there's some that, Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, that's a different type of thing. But that Days of Thunder, there are ones I enjoy, and I would say there's a bit more style. Because the things, I believe this director would go on to do Cocoon the Return. Don't quote me on that, because I think it's Daniel Petrie is his name. And I wouldn't say he really brought, again, I can't tell you any style that he put into this. Yeah, because he did A Raisin in the Sun, 1961. The Spy with a Cold Nose. That's a real movie. 1980 Resurrection, which I did not mind. I reviewed that. I thought that was a nice story. Fort Apache, The Bronx. Rocky Gibraltar. Burt Lancaster. Cocoon the Return, which I don't think was nearly as good as the first one. He did a Lassie movie, which had Helen Slater in it. Like I say, it's his directing style is fine, but it's nothing noteworthy to make you go, okay, that's a Daniel Petrie movie. Serves the boy, I guess is the best way to put it. But again, what made the film work is that it had a nice, easygoing charm where there's nothing that egregious happening that was bad or awful, and maybe I wasn't a big fan of the score because the score tried to be country music, but also tried to be very zany country music style. So at times the music tried to be very big and very, what's the word I'm looking for? God, I had it on the top of my head and the tip of my tongue. Not basic, but it was trying to be. I'll think of it later, but it's. I didn't really care for the score. I would prefer more Kenny Rogers music in the movie. I would prefer more of his songs in there. But he said the score just tried to be very. Almost like a redneck TV show type of thing. Like it felt like if you had a redneck TV show, it'd be more of that. And I thought it was one of the weaker parts of it. But I said the kid, it was nice to see an early Anthony Michael Hall performance and with Diane Lane. Again, Kenny Rogers did fine. The movie went at a good enough pace that I didn't feel it was that boring. Again, the race car scenes are filmed decent enough where it didn't seem confusing. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of style, but at the same time, there's nothing that egregious about it. Again, you get a couple decent crashes in there. It is predictable, but I mean, I guess there's only so many ways you could tell this story, to be fair. Sometimes I had some questions. Like there's a bit where the kids get caught and Kenny Rogers pretends to be a cop, and it was pretty easily actually. He just got a cop uniform that looked like a Cub Scout uniform, honestly. He just goes in and he tries to play the part. He's chewing loudly. Hey, little sister, how about I pick you up and take you out of town? And he wasn't bad at that. He was getting into it. But I was sitting there going, is it this easy to just get all these 6 of these kids out? Like, don't you need some papers and shit for it? Or don't you need some like actual ID? Like, did he get like a fake ID and all this other stuff? Don't you need to show your ID and a badge and like? No, apparently not. You just go in and say, you got some kids here. This is my name. Yeah, go and get them. Okay, here we go. It was that easy. Also, like there's like a training montage, but I'm like, why? Like, I did your race car driving. Why do you need to do sit-ups? And why do you need to race up and down? Not steps. It's not Rocky, but like race up and down with cardio. I'm not saying you need to be in shit health, but at the same time, you're driving fast. Like what does doing sit-ups accomplish, or running up and down stairs accomplish when you're gonna drive? You know what I mean? Like, what does that accomplish? I didn't see the connection between the two. If it's him, racing and doing drills, that'd be one thing. But this wasn't that. It was his training is to do sit-ups, and I'm like, why? Maybe people in the race world do that, and you let me know. Educate me, please do in the comments. Feel free to educate me. But just like, why? Terry Kaiser, he does a nice job being sleazy. Maybe not as memorable as Bernie and Weekend of Bernie's, but a decent enough job. There's a nice moment where time freezes, and he's getting ready for the big race, and time freezes where he sees the kids at the back of the cop car, and then himself, and kind of back and forth. There's kind of that moment of choice, the moment of truth. And of course, you know what he's going to choose. And he doesn't win the race, but I guess he got enough money that, spoilers, by the end, he adopts the kids, and he's with Erin Gray, and they buy a new house. I'm like, well, they didn't win the big race, but I guess he didn't need to do that in order to have this big house. Okay. It's kind of like he had his cake and ate it too. If it's one thing like, okay, yeah, I didn't get the fame and fortune, but I got, I'm going to take care of these kids, and it'll be this Winnebago or whatever, but we'll get by and we'll race some more. No, apparently, fuck the race and want to save the kids. He does save the kids, but then he also got the big house and stuff anyway. So it didn't. It makes the choice less important because there was no ill consequence for not finishing the race. There was no bad consequences for not winning the race. So it kind of makes the choice a little less important. Just like, why not? Like, you have everything to lose here, but you have nothing to lose if you... I don't know. Like I said, if you like any bits of the cast, and it's a feel-good movie as well, and like I said, there's a bit of a good old country charm to it. I didn't mind it. I did not mind the film. I don't know if it's a film I would watch immediately, time and time again, but yeah, I did not mind the film. I said it. There's a good old boy charm to it. And rest in peace to Kenny Rogers, man. Rest in peace to him and Barry Corbin. And, they'll be missed. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.